In this video, we are going to be talking about alien-human hybrids. There is a particular kind that I would like to talk about today. I feel like it's important information, and I'm going to warn you right now that it's going to sound absolutely insane. Unless you already believe in them or you've already had experiences with them, then of course it will probably resonate. But if you have not heard of them, or if you just don't believe in aliens or believe in this concept, then it is going to sound absolutely nuts. I will admit that before my awakening, if anyone ever spoke to me about this, I would probably think that they were crazy. So if you think I'm crazy, I don't blame you. I do not blame you at all. However, after my awakening and having the experiences that I've had, I have come to realize that believing in them doesn't matter because it doesn't stop it from being real. And so I just feel like I need to do my due diligence in sharing my experiences. And so all of this will be based on experience. A lot of it will be channeled information. And then, of course, some of it will be from information that I've gathered from other people's experiences as well, because I had to look into it. I had to ask other people just to see if what I was going through was actually real, because I always think that I'm crazy and that I'm going insane. For a minute there, I thought I was schizophrenic because of these psychic abilities that were turning on. And so I guess I'm not actually going crazy. Either that, or we are sharing the same delusion and we're all in the same crazy bucket. But I don't think that's the case. My name is Catherine. I'm an energy healer, spiritual coach, and nurse practitioner. If you need personalized coaching or an energy healing from yours truly, then you can go to my website at catherineglassman.com, or you can email me at hello@catherineglassman.com. Now, there are a number of different alien species out there, and there are also a number of alien human hybrids. The one that I want to talk about today tends to be probably the biggest conspiracy out of all of the conspiracy theories out there. And for that reason, if I actually just come out and say the name, there is a good chance that this video will be taken down. I have had my video shadow banned in the past, and so I'm trying to avoid that. I do kind of wear that with a badge of honor in a sense, because when it does happen, it shows that I'm actually on the right track. And so I'm going to have to use a code word, but the species that I am referring to, you may be familiar with. It starts with an R. It is green, and it rhymes with the word reptilian, which isn't a word. And so for the purpose of this video, I'm going to call them chameleons. And hopefully that will allow this video to stay up. Now, just a little backstory. My awakening started in 2018. And at that time, I started astral projecting. I was hearing voices. I was seeing entities. I was just having all of these what I thought were spiritual experiences, and they were metaphysical. And so I was taking more of a spiritual approach, which it all is spiritual at the end of the day, but I did not consider aliens at all. So even at that time, I still couldn't really comfortably say that I believed in aliens because I had never had an experience and I had never seen a UFO at the time. And so I believed people who claimed to have been abducted. And I just think that there were just so many people out there that had experiences, and I just didn't think that they're all lying. And, you know, some people think that they were doing it for attention when really they were just drawing the bad kind of attention to themselves. And so why would anybody just voluntarily put themselves through that kind of trauma? So I believe that that really did happen, but I couldn't say that I've seen them for myself. And so therefore I just didn't feel comfortable saying that I believed in it. And I had that same approach to God, really. I was an atheist for a very long time. And then I was agnostic here and there. You know, I didn't have the proof. I didn't have the experience. So I wasn't comfortable saying that. I am not an atheist anymore. And I definitely believe in aliens. But okay. So 2018, I'm having all these experiences. And so I'm trying all these things, right? I'm going to Buddhist temples, I'm going to churches, I'm going to therapy. I do an ayahuasca ceremony. Okay. I did a few and love ayahuasca. And during one of these ayahuasca ceremonies, I was kind of coming out of the medicine and getting ready to rest. And I go to lay down on my pillow. And as soon as my head hits the pillow, I heard a strange sound. And it sounded like an alien transmission. It was like it was, I don't know. Um, that's what it sounded like. And I immediately thought about aliens and I sat up and I looked around looking for something that was making that noise because it was very loud and I know I heard it and I didn't see anything. There was just other people kind of resting because of the ceremony and it was quiet. I was like, okay, that was weird. So I go to rest my head on the pillow again and I heard it again and it was louder. And I just sat up and I was like, okay, I guess I'm not laying down because that freaked me out. That was the first time where I like consciously thought about aliens and like me maybe being connected to them somehow. But at the end of the day, that was just a weird experience. And then I, of course, still wanted to chalk it up to, the fact that I did ayahuasca, right? So, so I left it at that. So then fast forward, I start to have other experiences, right? And I talk about this in another video, but I actually saw a UFO in Sedona. And this UFO was massive. I am 100% convinced that this was a mothership, which is very unusual for most UFO experiencers. Usually when people see UFOs, they're very small. They're like orb-like. They're very fast. They're making 90-degree turns, and it's a pretty quick experience, and then it's over. What I saw was just this massive ship in the sky over Sedona, and it looked like it was the size of Sedona itself. It was huge. And if from where I was in Coconino Forest, I kind of compared it to like a very, like maybe like even larger than like a football stadium. I like this, it was really hard to get a grasp of how big this thing was because I could clearly see Sedona and it looked like the size of Sedona. But then I was like, there's just no way that I could be seeing that, right? I was still trying to rationalize it and I couldn't, I was, with my partner at the time, I tried to videotape it on my phone. I wasn't picking up anything. He hit record, but then his phone glitched and so it didn't record. I had a DSLR camera that I charged the night before. I took that thing out and that thing was dead. And so for a solid 10 minutes, I just sat there and just watched this ship in the sky rotating. And I cried. It was a very emotional experience for me because I had been meditating for 2 weeks prior to that, asking for an experience. I wanted to see proof of alien life. And the reason why I was even meditating is because I had just watched Dr. Stephen Greer's documentary. It was called Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. And he talks about his technique, the CE5 technique. And I was so fascinated by it, I thought that I was going to try it. And I even joined like a CE5 group, but they weren't really meeting. And so I was like, okay, I'm just going to meditate on my own and see if anything happens. And we were going to go camping, and we were actually originally going to go camping in Utah, but then they got a lot of weather. So then, the person that I was going with changed their mind and was like, how about we go to Sedona? And I secretly got really excited, but I didn't say that I was trying to see a UFO, but I was like, okay, like it's just one thing after another was like leading to that experience. And so very exciting. There is no doubt in my mind that that was a legitimate UFO. No doubt in my mind. It was very personal. So anyway, so that happened. And then, maybe a year after that, I was at a music festival of all places. And I think I talk about this experience in that same video as well. Calling in a UFO is the video that I made talking about these experiences. But there is a man, okay, I'm at a music video or a music festival and I'm watching the artist on stage and I'm in the very back, the back right corner watching the stage, and this massive man starts walking out of the crowd into the back. And he immediately catches my eye because, first of all, he's massive, right? Like this guy looks like he's maybe 6'5", 6'7", just huge. Long dark hair, chiseled jaw, uh, just very big, but the proportion of his body looked a little strange. Like his arms looked like longer than they should be. The way he was walking was very stocky. Like he kind of looked like Andre the Giant, kind of, but just a little bit more square. I don't know how else to explain that, but he just caught my eye. And so this guy walks out of the crowd, and as soon as he gets out of the crowd and I get like a really good look at him, the word alien pops into my head. And it's like I say it out loud, like alien. I didn't even finish that word in my mind when this man turns and looks right at me, makes eye contact. And then he starts walking towards me. And he comes up to me and he gets bigger and bigger and bigger. I'm 5'9", okay? So I'm like looking up at this guy. And he bends over and he says, "You have a beautiful smile." And then walks away. I look at my friend and I was like, what was that? And I told them what happened. And they just kind of like brush it off because it all sounds crazy. But I was like, what? So anyway, after doing some investigating of that particular experience, and after I got like some more confirmation and validation over time through like meditation and things like that, I have come to the conclusion that that was an Anunnaki. And so, and again, like if this sounds crazy, that's fine. It doesn't matter because I know the truth. Okay. It was an Anunnaki. Okay. So I have that experience. Okay. So now I'm having these like alien UFO experiences, and like my mind is being blown, and I'm open to it, but I'm still like questioning if these things are really happening, right? So that happens. So then there comes a time where I interacted with two different people. And I'm not going to go into the details of these experiences because it's a little, I don't know, it's just personal, and it's, I don't want to. But the first one, it was pretty early because I don't think this happened before the Anunnaki experience and before the UFO. Yeah, it definitely happened before the UFO. Okay. So the first experience was with a person that I had been dating, and it did not work out. It did not work out. And the reason why is because he was controlling, and there were just certain things about him that made me very uncomfortable. And ultimately, this particular person had an addiction to pornography, okay, that I discovered later on. And he was very clearly, obviously had like a sex addiction there, and there were just some strange things about him, okay? And there was one particular time where we were going into like a lounge, and I was drinking a beer, and they wouldn't let us in because I had an open container and they wouldn't allow outside beverages into this place, right? And so I knew that. So I was just gonna slowly drink my beer and then throw it away and then go inside. Well, he was getting a little impatient, and he reached over to like grab it out of my hand, like mid sip. And I like pulled it away, and I was like, I'm going to finish this. And I started walking to the trash can to like dump it out. And I turned around and I looked at him, and he just gave me this look that I'll never forget. His eyes looked kind of like black. And it was just this look of like he wanted to hurt me, or he was thinking like really bad things about me. I don't know. It was just this very unsettling look. And I'll never forget it. And it was that among the addiction and, whatever, that ultimately told me that I just really did not feel safe. And I broke it off. And he did not take it well. He definitely went unhinged for sure. Um, Calling, texting every day, just really lost it. And which then just confirmed that I made the right decision. Okay. So that happens like way before, any of the ayahuasca stuff happens. Okay. Fast forward to after my Anunnaki experience in UFO and things like that, I'm starting to learn about the chameleons. Okay. And now by this time, I feel like I had never had an experience with one, nor did I see one or anything like that. But every single time I ever think about them, or I look into them, or I see like a post about them, I always think about that guy every single time. And it would bother me. I just didn't, why? Why would I think about him of all people? Right? So it like feels like it means something, but I'm not thinking too much into it. So now at this point, I am training to learn Reiki. I'm taking like psychic development classes. I'm really educating myself on, developing my gifts. And one of the teachers who I'm friends with now, he is wonderful. He's great. He is a clairvoyant and he's a medium. He's actually he has now retired, but he was like an electrical engineer and he has a theology degree and he's just wonderful. But what his gifts are is like when he talks to you, he can see entities around you and he can see your spirit guides. So every time I have a conversation with him, he's never actually looking at me. He's looking like kind of to the side and like looking around my head. And it's just so funny when he does it because I'm like, what do you see? Tell me everything. And so I asked him among some other friends, and I was like, hey, so what do you think about the chameleons? Have you ever had an experience or? And he was like, I had one experience where he said that he had his son was dating a girl and he really didn't like this girl, like right off the bat for some reason. And he invited them over and they were having dinner. And during this dinner, he could see um, like a dinosaur head, like right by her head. Okay. And he had never seen anything like it before. And typically, when he sees spirits or entities or guides, they will be an independent entity near that person, and they will either interact with him or they'll interact with the person that they are attached to. But they are, an entity themselves, right? This dinosaur head would make like some sort of expression like it was talking. And then a few seconds later, the girl would say something and it would look like she said the exact same thing that this dinosaur head was saying. All right. And then, the dinosaur head would like throw back its head and laugh, but he couldn't hear anything. And then a few seconds later, the girl would throw her head back and laugh. And he was like, that was when I knew that whatever this was not like an independent entity, but it was actually driving the girl, right? And he was like, it kind of seemed like a possession, but maybe not. It was a very confusing experience for him. So then afterwards, he tried to do some research and he stumbled upon chameleons, right? And he looked up pictures and he said that that was exactly what he saw, is what people claim to see when they see chameleons. Okay. And so then I told him my experience about, I never got like full confirmation that this guy was a chameleon, but every single time I think about them, I always think about him. Okay. And he said, well, you should probably trust your gut with that. But, even when they say that, I still just wasn't convinced. I want more proof than that. Okay. So fast forward to like a couple years now. So now I'm a little bit more confident with my intuition. I feel way more comfortable with reading energy and feeling energy and things like that. And there, eventually, I meet this person, and this person just starts, we instantly had like a connection. It was very much fated, but every time there is like a fated meeting, I always know that there is a reason. There is something to be learned, or there is just something that needs to be karmically cleared, usually. And so this particular person was significantly younger than me, and kept they were doing things around my house, like they were hired, and so they were doing things around my house, so they had my number and kept texting me about the house. But then eventually it turned into like personal conversation, and it was nice. They were very friendly and whatever, and very charming. And then eventually the texts became every day. And then eventually he started calling me every single day. And I will say that it was a nice interaction, but I immediately knew that something wasn't right. But whatever, it was fine. It was innocent. And again, they were so young. And part of me was like, okay, they're so young that they're probably just, excited to talk to somebody. I don't know. So whatever, I'm just making excuses. But in the back of my mind, I was like, something's a little off. So as time goes on, this person starts to express like romantic interest in me. And, I try to have a conversation about the age gap, and he was just not bothered at all, did not care. And I will say that even though he was significantly younger than me, he seemed very aware, very intelligent, and very just, he just did not act his age at all. And so, whatever. So, we're friends, we're being very friendly, we're getting to know each other and whatever. He's helping me like around the house and things like that. Very accommodating, very generous with his time and, service and things like that. And eventually I start to catch him in lies, and they're very insignificant lies. They're just things that one should not have to lie about. And so it was very interesting. And then at one point, I called him out on it, and he tried to gaslight me. And so I think one of them was like him having social media, right? He had social media and then he deleted it, but and he tried to say that he didn't have social media, but he doesn't realize that he friend requested me like in the beginning of us even introducing ourselves, right? He friend requested me. And so I know that he has social media because I like looked at it, whatever. He friend requested me and I looked at it. But then he took it down and then tried to say that he didn't have it. And I was like, oh, interesting. He's trying to gaslight me. Okay. Clearly that's a form of manipulation. And then after coming to that realization, I learned, or I had this light bulb moment of realizing that he was love bombing me, right? Being very overly accommodating, texting every single day, like just hitting me hard. It's at this point now that I realize that he's really trying to manipulate me now. And I will say that a human part of me, well, I don't know if it's human or what it is, but I have a toxic trait sometimes, or a temptation anyway, that when I learn that somebody is trying to take advantage of me or manipulate me in that kind of way, most of the time I just leave it alone, or, stop talking to them or whatever. I just don't make the time for that. But sometimes I get tempted to kind of beat them at their own game. I know, and I don't do that. But for some reason, I just felt really drawn into like, I don't know, like, yeah, it's bad. Because I'm like, how does, especially being a starseed and a like awakened individual, right? That people have the audacity to try to manipulate you and take advantage of you. And it's like, do you know who you're dealing with? Like, do you not know that I've lived multiple lifetimes? And some of those lifetimes were I was not that good and I've paid my karma for it. But like in those lifetimes, I probably invented manipulation. And so you're going to try to manipulate me? Like, come on. And so, like, I kind of had this attitude with this particular person. And so it's not that I was trying to manipulate him back, but I became a little curious now. And I was like, I'm very interested in knowing where exactly this is going to go. Like, where does he think this is going to go, or what does he think that he can do? And so I let it go. I call him out in small bits and pieces here and there, and he deflects immediately, which I'm paying attention to all of this, okay? And so as we continue to interact, I start to notice that he mirrors me a lot. So he will always ask me about me. And then later on, in a different conversation at a different point in time, he will voluntarily say that he is interested in those same things. Okay. So, like, there was one point where I mentioned like wanting to live off grid one day and start a family. And, a few days later, he says, like, I would just love to live off grid and start a family, right? Like, it just seems so calculating. Okay. And thank goodness that I had already like had some experiences already and I was a little bit older so I could clearly see what was happening. But I mean, if I hadn't, he would have roped me in pretty quickly. But still, regardless, he was very charming, very charismatic, very intelligent. But I will say that every single time I interacted with him and like looked at him in the eyes and we just had conversation, it was always like I was talking to an empty vessel. And that's the best way that I can explain that. It was almost like I was talking to like a sociopath, like somebody that's not actually there, but is pretending to be human and pretending to be interested in the conversation and pretending to have fun. Like it was very inauthentic. And I even asked him at one point, like if he ever felt like he had like sociopathic tendencies, but he didn't even understand what I meant by that. Again, he was young and he just didn't get what I was trying to ask. But it was interesting that I even asked that question. So the fact that I even asked that question should kind of, clue you in that, I'm suspecting that kind of thing from this guy, right? So anyway, so something happens, like I don't know, I get like upset about something. Like I don't remember what it was. It wasn't like a big deal, but I get like upset. And I was like, I think I just need time to think for a second. And, I didn't text him or talk to him for like a couple of days. Okay. And then by the end of the couple of days, I felt kind of bad. And so I reached out to him and I apologized. And I was like, I'm sorry. I just felt like I kind of got triggered by this particular conversation that we had, but I do apologize. And, I'm sorry. I'm going to work on that. And he was like, no, it's okay. Like, I'm sorry too, whatever. He seemed pretty receptive of my apology. I noticed, however, that after that incident, he started to pull back and his behavior started to change. And he almost kind of started to get like a little aggressive. And one thing led to another. And so eventually he just cuts me off, like he stops talking to me. Okay. No like warning or anything. No like telling me that he's upset with me or that this isn't going anywhere or anything like that. Just stops talking to me. And then eventually I start asking like, hey, are you okay? And nothing. Then he starts showing up at my house like unannounced. One time he didn't know that I saw him, but I saw his vehicle and I saw him myself. I saw him drive by. And the reason why he couldn't see me is because I had my back turned to I was outside doing some work on the front door and, whatever, I'm just doing my thing. And I could see the reflection of his car in the glass behind me. And so when he saw me, he thinks that I didn't see him because I had my back turned to him when really I could see the reflection of his car behind me. I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And then there was another time where he showed up in the middle of the night at my house, and my Ring doorbell caught him. And he did not think that he mentioned something about feeling like a lot of people who had Ring doorbells didn't actually have them installed. They just did it more for aesthetic to make people think that they have it installed. But mine was fully installed, and so I saw him. So now it's starting to feel a little dangerous, and the whole thing, after looking at the whole picture, it all started to feel very predatory. And so yeah, so now I'm, a little just kind of weirded out. I'm not like really scared, but I am starting to take precautions now, right? I mean, I have the camera in the front door. I had a camera in the back. Like I feel pretty like protected, right? And I reach out and I send something to him about narcissism. And I said, I feel like maybe this is something you might want to consider looking into. No judgments, okay? Like it's not anything to be ashamed of. And I can't necessarily just diagnose you, but I've done that with myself. I've identified certain things within myself and felt like a particular label fit me at the time. And it helped. And I started treating myself and it helped. And so I just proposed that to this person, and he immediately blocked me on everything. Okay. And then I didn't hear from him after that. And so I knew that I triggered him. I hit a nerve, which to me clued me in that I probably was on the right track with that. And so, okay, whatever. So then I start like meditating, trying to channel information on, because now I feel like I have now for sure interacted with a narcissist in a like semi-romantic kind of way, right? So I'm like trying to channel information about it. And while I am meditating, I'm just asking for information about narcissism and things like that. And I get a flash image of the first guy that was addicted to porn and the word chameleon in my head. Okay. Out of nowhere. And I opened my eyes and I sat there and I was like, no, that can't be. There's no way, right? And so now this just took a completely different turn for me. And so now at this point, I am trying to find information on people's experiences, like commonalities that people have found while interacting with chameleons. Because although I am getting this information and it really resonates, I still have a hard time believing it, right? And I've done that the whole time after my awakening. Like, am I really seeing these things? Am I really astral projecting? Like, I always doubt myself. And so this was just another one of those moments. I want the validation. I want proof. And so I'm looking up all this information and things like that. And some of the things that people have reported, some commonalities they very much align with the experiences that I had with these two people. Now, some of the commonalities, and I'm going to apologize right now because some of it might be a little TMI. I'm going to try to keep it as PG as I can. Okay. But one commonality between the two is that they both were very like overly sexual, to the point where it almost seemed a little maybe a little dangerous, maybe a little controlling, just over the top, right? Like I think it's good to have a healthy amount of sexual energy, but it wasn't just sexual energy. It was like aggressive and just like dominating. I don't know. But both of them share that characteristic. Okay. Another one that people have reported is that they tend to have sharp facial features, right? Which both of these people had very sharp facial features. Another one is that a lot of them felt like they're it felt like they kind of were a little they were a lot of them said that they're all like narcissists, okay, which right, I don't know if I can say that the first one was necessarily, but I also wasn't really looking for that. There were some other issues, okay, but now this is a weird one. But this particular species, or even the hybrid species, uh, like human blood. Okay. Apparently, this is just a way of for them to get energy, right? They're kind of like energy vampires, but this is like a physical thing that they can consume in order to get that energy. Now, this would actually align to the conspiracy of adrenochrome. And if you don't know what that is, I'm not going to explain it in this video because, again, I want this video to stay up. But yeah. Now, I will say that one of them did have a strange fascination with it, especially when it was my time of the month. Okay. And I'm going to leave it at that, but that was a thing. Okay. But it's pretty common knowledge, at least for people who have had experiences with chameleons, that that particular species just tends to be, now I'm not saying that they're all bad, okay, because there are good ones, just like with any other species and just like with humans, there is good and bad, right? Even with angelic beings, there are bad or, not so good angels out there, right? Like fallen angels, okay? And so the same thing is with chameleons. However, each species has particular characteristics that are fairly like widespread among that species, okay? So for angels, for example, they tend to be of service to humanity, and they just tend to be very loving and almost to a fault. And that is just a general consensus of them. And then there are some outliers. The general consensus of chameleons is that they don't like humans. They view humans as objects or things that they can use. They just view humans as like tools or a means to an end. Now, the reason why is that, from the things that I've meditated on and channeled, and also comparing that information with other information out there from other channelers, I do believe that the Anunnaki did come to planet Earth and mix their DNA with primates, thus creating humans. Okay. And it wasn't just Anunnaki DNA, but other interdimensional beings splicing their DNA with primate DNA to make humans. I do believe this. There are over 3 billion pairs of DNA, right? 3 billion. And apparently, according to scientists, 98% of it is junk DNA. Okay. They just don't know what it does. I do not believe that they don't know. I believe that it is cosmic. And they don't want this information to be out there. They don't want people to think that this might be a real thing, because then that would activate that DNA, and it would really catapult people into their evolution. Okay. Human evolution would just speed up very quickly. And I mean, the awakening has already happened. That would further awaken people. And I mean, it would yeah, it would make humans very difficult to control and to manipulate after that information has been brought to light. So, but that is what I believe. And so for me personally, I do believe that my DNA is a little bit higher in angelic and Palladian DNA. This is why I work so closely with angels. I've always been obsessed with angels, even when I was younger and didn't even believe in God, but I believed in angels and I knew that they were real, and so that would explain it. I do have a couple of guides. I mean, I have a bunch of angels, but like I have, some Palladian guides. Like I feel very connected and close to them. Then there are other people that have higher amounts of other DNA, like the Anunnaki or the Andromedan. And then there are people that have higher amounts of chameleon DNA. Now, all of us have like a little bit of chameleon DNA. This is why they say that we have a lizard brain. Okay. This lizard brain, which I guess resides more in like the brainstem, is primarily it resides over the instinctual aspect of us, right? The 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 innate like desire, right? This makes a lot of sense when you try to describe a chameleon. It is very much based on instinct and self-serving desire. Okay. This is the kind of energy that I got from both of these people. Okay. It was, it, they were highly intelligent, very intelligent, checked all the boxes on the outside, but very manipulative and very sexually driven underneath the facade. And so after I make this connection and I'm learning about these commonalities from other people's experiences, I reach out to a friend of mine, the same friend actually, the channeler. I trust him dearly. He definitely does not steer me wrong, and he definitely doesn't lie to me and tells me what I think I want to know. I can trust him to be very honest with me. And so I just inquired about this second person, and I said, and I didn't give any leading information. And I said, hey, do you mind if I send you a picture of this particular person? I just kind of have a weird feeling about this person. And he was like, sure. So I send him the picture, and he writes me this long paragraph of a text, and he starts to say things about being sexually aggressive, sees people as objects, really wants things and really needs to have control. He says that he worries that this person will get aggressive. Okay. And obviously this confirms everything that I was thinking. But then I took it a step further and I was like, okay, no, okay, sorry. So he tells me that, right? But I still have this chameleon thing going on and it was bothering me. So that night I asked for confirmation. Okay. And I put it out there and I said, if this person is a chameleon, I need a very, very clear sign that that is what I'm dealing with. Like I need to see something that is undeniable, maybe a lizard or just anything. Okay. Literally, not even an hour later, do you know what I found in my living room? A freaking lizard. A real life lizard. It was like maybe, I don't know, 6 inches long in my living room, running around. Okay. Never had a lizard in my house. I've seen them outside, sure, here and there, but never in my house. Okay. That is one hell of a coincidence. Okay. And very difficult to deny. So that happened. So I reached back out to my friend and I was like, hey, so I am suspecting that there might be some chameleon energy that I'm dealing with. What are your thoughts? And he was like, honestly, I was picking up on that too. I just didn't know how much you wanted to know. And so there you have it. So that for sure, there really is no doubt in my mind anymore that that is who I was dealing with. And so now I have come to learn that this happens to a lot of people. a lot of people have these experiences. And most of the time, because it's such a conspiracy that it's kept under wraps a lot, that first of all, it's just something that people don't believe in, right? It just sounds absolutely insane. And because nobody believes in it, and because it's kept under wraps, it tends to happen to a lot of people without them even realizing it. I'm fortunate enough to have pretty good intuition. I was very proud of myself when I came to this conclusion because I was like, I knew it. I knew there was a reason I was interacting with this person. I knew that this wasn't for nothing. I knew it. Now, sure, it was like an emotional like roller coaster, sure, but I knew that there was a bigger thing for me to discover from interacting with this person. And once I came to that conclusion, right, the chameleon aspect of it, it's like everything like switched off. Like the anxiety, the emotions, the wondering, the confusion, all of it just turned off. And that's when I knew that I had done it. And I was so proud of myself. Obviously, I have learned now that these things happen to me because I know that they are happening to other people. And whether you believe in it or not is beside the point, because like I said before, it doesn't stop it from being real. It doesn't stop it from happening. Okay. And so I share this because I think it's really important for you to know that they are out there. Okay. Just like I'm here, I am a starseed with Palladian DNA. Okay. Angelic DNA. I pretty much fit the bill, right? Like most angelic hybrids, they tend to go into like work that is of service to others. I am a nurse, right? Nurse practitioner. I really love helping people. I could never work a job that didn't involve helping people. I've tried and I just couldn't do it. It just didn't resonate. And so, there are a lot of angelic beings out there, which is awesome. There's a lot of Andromedan and Anunnaki and Greys and Essassani beings. They're all out there and they're all among us. And it's so wonderful and it's so cosmic and it's so cool. It's just part of evolution, okay? I mean, the government has already come out and confirmed that UFOs or UAPs are real, all right? So that's just, finally, we all knew that. But like, eventually, we're going to have to start learning about just how deep this really goes. It's basically like Star Wars, okay? That's pretty much how this universe works, except that DNA is within all of us. And so you even watching this video, there is a good chance that you yourself are a starseed, that you have cosmic DNA. And so what kind of DNA do you think you might have? I'm really disappointed that the second person blocked me and stopped talking to me because I really wanted to have that conversation with them just to plant the seed, because I didn't know that I was a starseed, right? I didn't know that. I thought that was insane. So, of course, this person probably doesn't know. I'm really, after doing some channeling, I really don't think that they have any clue. I really don't think that they believe in any of that. But I also believe that it can be a choice of how you behave. And the way that, humanity and the planet is evolving, we are shifting into a higher frequency. And because of that, the lower vibrations are not going to be able to match up anymore. And so we're either going to have to evolve into a higher frequency or get left behind. And so I truly think that anybody can evolve and anybody can transmute that energy into a higher frequency. And I really just wanted to at least plant that seed and at least give him the opportunity to learn about it and maybe just look into it, whether it's with me or not, whether he thinks I'm absolutely crazy, whatever, it doesn't matter. The whole point of doing any of this for me is to just get the information out there and to just plant seeds. That's it. Because what I find that happens most often is that I'll plant the seed and then months to years later, people will reach out and be like, hey, remember the thing that you said? Like, I think there might be something to it. So that's all I wanted. But also on the same token, think it's important that we all kind of know that there are benevolent beings out there, but there are also malevolent beings out there as well that will try to take advantage of us, try to manipulate us. And, you know, at least for the awakened ones like you and I, it is very difficult to take advantage of us because of all of the work that we have done and that all the work that we are actively doing. And so if you are even watching this video, there is probably a good reason that you were drawn or called to this video. So, just keep your head on a swivel, right? There's a lot of cosmic beings out there, right? A lot of hybrids out there just masquerading as just regular humans. But I mean, we are awakened, so that means that we're not exactly just regular human beings, which means that there are plenty of other beings out there that may be a little different. So I hope that makes sense. I hope it resonates. And if you have any experiences, I would love to hear it. You're going to have to use a code word so that this video doesn't get taken down. But yeah, please share it with me. And by the way, I meant to mention this in the beginning of the video, but I have not been able to get to the comments of all of my other videos. And so to my subscribers and to the people that leave comments, I want to say sincerely from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Thank you for leaving such beautiful comments, for even watching this content. I'm going to get emotional. It really means a lot. I do this because I know that this information needs to get out there and that people need to hear it, and it's going to reach whoever it needs to reach. But on a human level, it helps me feel seen because I know that you guys know what I'm talking about. And I just really appreciate it because it can be lonely sometimes when you are an awakened individual and you just feel like you don't belong on this planet. You can't have regular conversations with people. It can be isolating sometimes. And so sincerely, truly, deeply, I really appreciate you. This channel is very small, but it feels huge to me. So thank you. Anyway. God, I just cry so much. I love you guys. I hope you liked the video. Give it a thumbs up if you did. Consider subscribing, and I will see you next time. Bye.